Hey everyone, and welcome to Ghoul Society. This is my little sister Sara.
And that's my big sister Jamie.
We are grateful to be recording on the stolen lands of the Lekwungen, Wasanich, and Songhees nations. By listening to this podcast, you've been inducted as a member of the Underground Ghoul Society.
Hi.
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 Here we are again. Number 3.
Episode 3 already.
Third time's a charm.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
It gets better with age as we keep doing it.
That's right. We know in our first couple of recordings that the surround sounds
Was a little much.
they're a little much. And our mouth sounds. We are aware. So we are trying our best to play with the microphone sensitivities and eventually get some better equipment.
Yeah.
Because we're using what we have right now.
Yeah, and what we have is okay.
Yeah. There was a whole situation. It's fixed-ish.
Yeah, we couldn't use this. I bought 2 of the same microphones, but the computer won't register them as separate microphones. So that was a big struggle, but thankfully Jamie already had a different microphone.
Yeah. So we're in the clear. Though it might sound bad for the first handful of episodes.
But that's
bad.
common.
Mm-hmm.
At least to all the ones we listen to, or the other podcasts we listen to.
And not bad necessarily, just not perfect.
Not super crisp, maybe.
Yeah. And
but that's okay.
It's fine.
It's fine.
So this is what I was going to tell you.
Oh, yeah.
And I was
okay.
like,
Save
I'll
it for the
save it
podcast.
for the pod,
Okay.
which is really funny. But, okay, so I've been listening. No, sorry. I've been reading this book on Celtic magic.
Okay.
And so I've been thinking a lot about magic.
Okay.
It just magic as in manifesting and being in control and kind of taking having autonomy within your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also been thinking a lot about rituals, especially as a maker and as an artist as well. What are the things that we do that kind of keep that practice alive? But also, what are the small rituals that we do in our daily lives every day?
Right.
When we get ready for bed, when we get ready for work or school, how do those rituals kind of keep us grounded in the world?
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty cool because I got an email from one of my professors for next week.
Okay.
And they sent out like a welcome email.
Yeah.
And then 5 readings
Oh.
to be read for Friday. Though when I looked at it again, I realized one of them is a course outline.
Oh.
Another one is just like random kind of catch-up things.
That just gave me like a big spike in anxiety when you said I have 5 course readings. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
What about mine? I'm not in school anymore.
No, totally.
I'm so used to I graduated a year ago, but I'm still so used to the end of August, the very last weekend of August, being like, okay, I have to actually prepare now.
Mm-hmm. Like genuine PTSD.
Yeah, trauma.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have these course readings.
Yeah, so he sends these out, and one of them is called Ritual.
Oh.
And the other one is about certain magic practices of a certain peoples.
What class is this?
Anthropology of education.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I was like, wait, I've been thinking so
Whoa.
much about like magic and rituals. And also when I was reading the magic book, okay, this is going to get pretty woo-woo-y, but just stay with me a little bit. It has this part in it talking, so, okay, let me get my thoughts together. It talks a lot about the history of Celtic magic and how to use Celtic magic, all of this kind of stuff, but it also has exercises in it as well.
Okay.
And a lot of them are just kind of based off of like breathwork and meditation. And it would be like, think about this thing, picture yourself in this place, and now meditate on it and then write in your journal what comes up.
Yeah.
So I did that. I wrote it down, and then that was one day. And then the next day, I read the next entry, like for the next exercise.
Yeah.
And it was like, there were literally things that it said to visualize in that exercise that I already saw in my previous meditation that weren't in the first exercise.
Oh, whoa.
It was really, really cool. And so then I did it again, and it was just like, whoa, this is really crazy. So now I have this one specific thought that I think about, or a specific place that I can go to when I start my meditation.
Oh, cool.
And it's really perfect because it feels like that place is a really like rooted, grounded place.
Yeah.
And then everything that happens around it kind of shows me a little bit more about maybe what's happening or what I'm feeling or just connecting to something.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So I was like, I need to tell Sarah about this.
Oh, that's so fun. Well,
magic and ritual.
That's so fun. That's actually kind of funny that you bring up like magic. Not in a different way, but my coworkers and I think we're cursed a little.
Uh-oh.
And
what do you...
some weird stuff has been happening at work. So either it's been happening to about 4 of us, which is really weird. 3 of us work together, and then one of our bosses, it's been happening to him too, where someone, like, I'll have a really bad sleep, and then the next day someone else in this like little group of 4 will have a bad sleep.
Oh no.
And we've been going like in this circle of like, oh, I woke up at 3 a.m. and I couldn't go back to sleep.
That's the witching hour.
Yeah, I know.
That's the worst time.
I know. Or like, oh, I was up like 6 times last night and I was tossing and turning. I had a horrible sleep. I probably slept like 3 hours.
Last night?
No,
or
just like
an example.
In the past week. And then 2 nights ago, my coworker, she woke up in the middle of the night and she was really dizzy. Like she had vertigo and she had to go lay on her couch. And then that night, I had vertigo. Like the day she told us.
Dude.
I went home and I was doing yoga and I was feeling a little lightheaded. But then when I stopped and I got up and like sat on the couch, instant nausea, instant dizziness.
And like really wild dizziness, right?
Yeah, like
just
the room was spinning. Yeah.
That's the worst.
And I had a hard time falling asleep, and then it was still going on like the next morning.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's okay. One of my bosses helped me, so it's all good. But yeah, and I was like, what is going on? Why are we all experiencing the same things?
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe we're cursed or something.
Maybe.
I don't know.
That's spooky. Whenever I think about that, I always think maybe there's something in this space, like physically, like mold or
I know I thought of that.
Material that's off-gassing or something like that. But
I thought of that, but there's like 11 of us at work.
True.
And it's only happening to a select 4 of us.
Weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
I know.
Spooky.
Yeah. And since that day, like, I've been feeling it just, like, off.
I was stirring my poached eggs yesterday, and it made me so dizzy that I also felt really weird.
Really?
Like, I was looking down, stirring them, and then I looked up, and then the whole room was spinning.
Yeah. Since that, like, so that happened, I felt it a few days ago, but I've been feeling more sensitive to dizziness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just when I see things spin, it makes me more nauseous than it would. Or like, I turned around really fast yesterday and I was like, oh, that like made me dizzy.
That's the worst because it affects everything.
Yeah. And I don't know what brought it on. Like, I haven't experienced vertigo until this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really weird. So I asked Jamie when she started experiencing it, because I thought maybe it's an early 20s thing, but I guess not.
I was, 17 or 18-ish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It really sucks.
Yeah, it does.
But mine was always correlated to high stress.
Mm-hmm. And
same with tinnitus, like ear ringing.
Yeah.
I say tinnitus. Some people say
tinnitus.
Some people say it in a way that I don't say it. No, there's another way to say tinnitus.
Tinnitus?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, tinnitus.
Oh.
We forgot to tell you all something. our followers.
What did we forget to tell them?
Our cult followers. We're making a cult. This is the cult.
No.
It's School Society.
What?
We just stared at each other for a solid 3 or 5 seconds. We forgot to tell them that we're staying in a castle.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yes, we're staying. It's not a real castle.
It's listed as a castle. It's castle-esque. It's just a huge mansion on the ocean.
Yeah, we're staying in a huge castle mansion on the ocean for 3 nights in December.
Yes.
Over Sarah's birthday.
Yeah,
And
I'm
it's
so
gonna
excited.
be baller.
And there's a hot tub. I'm so excited for the hot tub.
Yeah, and we're going to try to record an episode there.
Yes.
Might be too loud.
Yeah, there's going to be like 10 of us. That might actually not work.
Yeah, but imagine the ocean in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, but mom in the background.
Oh my gosh. Hey, she listens to this.
Sorry. Sorry, Mom.
Sorry,
no,
Mom.
she wants to watch.
Oh, yes, she wants to watch it.
Sorry, Mom. I love you.
Yeah, we love you.
Yeah.
Okay, so, Sarah, you have a story for me?
Okay, well, so first of all, regarding last episode, remember when we brought up mimics? I know you don't really want to talk about it.
God, fuck, dude. It took me like a week to be okay again.
I know, but I said I would do a little bit more digging into them.
Okay.
For the listeners.
Okay.
I'm really sorry.
Okay.
So they're also known as doppelgangers.
Yes.
Yes. And they're believed to bring on misfortune or a foretelling of impending doom on someone. So it's best not to pay attention to these kinds of spirits because ignoring them won't feed their energy.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. I was just like, oh, chill, okay.
Yeah.
And then I moved on.
So yeah, which is good. But I don't know if what you experienced is a mimic, but they're very big in like the Appalachian Mountains. Jamie just took a picture of me. I lost my train of thought.
For the IG.
They're very well known in the Appalachian Mountains just because it's wild up there.
And it's echoey. So kind of makes sense logically.
Okay, where did a frickin'
Sorry,
I know. Pin in everyone's like spooky stories.
Okay. I'm listening.
Well, that's it. That's all I had to say. But I think like the mystery around the Appalachian Mountains is very interesting, and all the tales and like indigenous history as well. I think it's really interesting. Maybe we could talk about that one day.
Yeah, I would love to. That sounds great. So what you're trying to say is there's nothing for me to be worried about.
There's nothing for you to be worried about unless it continues.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't.
Okay, great. Then
nothing.
You're fine.
Not for months.
Yeah. Because they can follow you.
Yeah.
But if you like ignore them, they'll just move on to someone else.
Yeah, they're like, damn, this chick ain't fucking listening to me.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, okay, see ya.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
So yeah, that's all I had to say about mimics. I couldn't really find much. It was more just me looking at Reddit about people's stories about experiencing them, and that was really scary.
Yeah, Reddit can be scary.
Yeah, so I was like, no thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but moving on to my story this week, I thought I'd talk about ghost ships.
Yes!
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm so excited.
So one ghost ship came to mind immediately when I was doing my research. I heard this story while on a ghost tour downtown Victoria. So this is the story of the SS Valencia, one of the hundreds of ships that haunts the graveyard of the Pacific, an area that begins in Tillamook Bay, Oregon, and stretches up the most northern tip of Vancouver Island at Cape Scott. But the Valencia is said to be one of the worst disasters in the graveyard's history.
What?
Yeah.
What about the Titanic?
That was not in the graveyard of the Pacific.
Okay.
Good try, though.
Okay. Wait.
What?
Wait. I have to pull something up because I was at the Sheringham Point. Sheringham?
Yeah, the lighthouse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was at the lighthouse. Wait, this is so funny. Is this another synchronicity? Literally, I have it on my phone August 23rd. So 2 days after we first recorded.
Okay.
And I took a photo of this board. I'm just showing you, but then I'm going to read it to you.
Okay.
The reason I took a picture of it is because I was also going to do a story about the SS Valencia.
Were you
I took a photo of this and I was like, ooh, because the first line is, talking about how there's the graveyard all in the strait.
Yeah.
The Strait of Juan de Fuca.
Yeah.
And as soon as I read that, I was like, oh, I need to do a story on the SS Valencia. And then it talks about it. So that's really funny. Do you want me to say what it says here?
No. That's my story.
Okay.
That's actually crazy. Wait,
That's
where's
really
Sheringham
funny.
Point again?
It's right before French Beach, China Beach,
Right, okay.
before Jordan River. It's like right before that. By that cafe, Surely Delicious.
Okay.
It's at that turnoff.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
I wonder if we chose it on the same day again.
Wait, what day was the 23rd?
That's 2 days after we last recorded. So it would have been on...
Yeah, Tuesday.
Monday,
I
I guess. Because didn't we record on the 21st?
Something.
Anyway, you can take all this out if you want.
Okay, that's
funny.
actually crazy. Yeah, so it wrecked quite north of there, but it makes sense that there's a lighthouse and it's like, oh, by the way, there was this huge shipwreck.
Well, they built the lighthouse after the shipwreck happened because it was so horrific. They put up 5 new lighthouses across the...
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Why are we always talking about the same thing? And now you don't have to do the story.
Damn it.
Sorry.
Imagine that was the one... That wasn't what I was going to do.
Oh, was it a different ghost ship?
No, I mean, for today I was going to have a story, but I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still on my mind and like on my roster.
Right. Oh, that's so funny. Okay. Wow. We're the same.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Can't make this shit up.
No, what the heck? So it's January 1906, and the Valencia is en route to Seattle, Washington, and Victoria, BC, from San Francisco, California. The weather leaving San Francisco is clear, and the 56 crew and 108 passengers are excited for their passage to the Pacific Northwest. Passing Cape Mendocino, about 160 kilometers from San Francisco, the weather turned to what mariners call thick, which is when there's a constant fog or haze and rain.
She thick with 3 C's?
Yeah.
Thick.
Essentially, the captain and crew have become lost. They don't really know where they are.
Oh,
They have to rely on what they call dead reckoning to navigate their passage. So dead reckoning is done by calculating one's current position based on a previously determined position and using compasses, but they don't actually really know where they are.
Fuck.
Yeah, but this is where we'll turn to the history of the SS Valencia.
Oh, okay. Shit. Nice.
Thank you.
Good job.
So it was built in 1882 by William Camp and Sons for the Red D Line Company to service between Venezuela and New York City. The Red D Line was a sailing service that began in 1839. And in 1879, the company wanted more modern steamships. So this is when the Valencia and her sister ship, the Caracas, were made. The Valencia had 3 cargo holding areas and 4 watertight compartments for the boiler and engine rooms. But oddly, it didn't have a double hull. So if it ever hit something, it would have gashed open.
Awesome.
Because steamships typically have a double hull, and now it's standard for ships to have a double hull so that if they hit something that outside, if it gashes open, then water doesn't come in.
Wow. Love that for them.
Yeah.
That's so bad.
Yeah. But 1800s. The Valencia was licensed to carry 286 passengers. It carried 7 lifeboats that could hold 181 people, 3 life rafts. I don't really know what the difference is. I think life rafts are smaller.
Yeah, I think life rafts are more of a dinghy type.
Yes.
And a lifeboat would be more of a hard shell boat.
Right.
So on the ferries, they have life rafts that are in those big white things. And you pull a string and it literally like explodes out like a balloon animal.
Right. But in the 1800s, I don't think they had blow-up dinghies.
That's a great question.
So,
maybe of something.
Anyway, 3 life rafts that could carry 54 people, 368 life preservers, and a Lyle gun, which is a line throwing gun, and it had 1,500 feet of line.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they were prepared.
They were,
Prepared enough.
prepared enough.
But not prepared for the worst.
Wow.
Because how can you be, really?
We'll find out what happens.
Yeah.
During this time, the Valencia would complete 2 voyages per year, taking about 26 days per voyage to and from New York and Venezuela, carrying passengers, cargo, and mail for the United States.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then the ship kind of had a little bit of a sordid history.
Sordid history.
Starting in 1879, when on a voyage, she was attacked by another ship named the Reina Mercedes off Guantanamo Bay in Cuba.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah.
Ruh-roh.
They fired 2 shots from the Reina Mercedes, and they just missed the stern of the Valencia, which caused them to raise their American flag, which prevented from being fired at more.
Right. Who did they think they were?
Well, so it said that the shots were fired to intimidate the Valencia into raising her colors because she wasn't flying her flag at this time.
Oh, I see.
Although the captain of the Valencia was able to discern who the Reina Mercedes was, despite them also not sailing their colors, because they were just in the same port together.
Oh.
So the Reina Mercedes was just like, hey, they're not flying their colors. Let's shoot at them.
Wow. Even though we just saw you 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Probably not 5 minutes. 5 days.
Probably.
But still.
Yeah.
So weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a Spanish official claimed that the Reina Mercedes was just in attacking, as not displaying one's flag at the time violated maritime courtesy.
Okay.
But the Valencia claimed that the Reina Mercedes didn't have their flag raised as well, which makes the attack unjust.
This is actually grade school behavior.
I know.
They didn't fly.
They weren't flying their colors.
They weren't flying their colors. And so we attacked them. But then we also weren't flying our colors, but we're still allowed to attack them because they weren't flying theirs. So they did it first.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, figure it out, people.
Yeah, right. So in 1898, the Valencia was sold to the Pacific Steam Whaling Company, and this is when it began to serve the west coast of North America, with service to and from San Francisco to Seattle and Victoria, and sometimes Alaska as well. However, in June of 1898, the ship was chartered by the U.S. Army for the Spanish-American War, and they paid $650 a day.
Whoa.
Do you want to guess how much $650 is in today's money?
Yes.
Compared to 1898.
Okay, 1898, today's money, I'm going to say that's about $10,000.
You're close.
$12,000.
It's about 20 grand per day.
Shit.
The U.S. Army paid the Pacific Steam Whaling Company $20,000 per day to use that ship in the Spanish-American War.
Wow. Mm-hmm. This is part of why war makes so much money, and it's disgusting.
Yeah.
That is outrageous.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the ship carried 606 troops and 29 officers.
Wow.
Which is over capacity for the life rafts.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well,
they didn't care.
They're gonna go die anyway.
Oh, yeah.
I guess.
I guess they didn't think many would return.
No. Wild.
The Valencia survived the war. However, it didn't easily adapt back to civil service. She was then considered too small and too open to the elements because the main deck was pretty big. And she was difficult to handle in the winter months and only sailed up to 11 knots, which is very slow.
Yeah.
Even for a steamship, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
So it was noted as a second-class vessel.
Okay.
But that's still pretty high.
Yeah,
so I guess I don't know a lot about steamships from the 1800s.
Oh my gosh. Also, isn't it so strange that we call boats women?
Yes.
I don't get it.
I don't know.
I'm surprised you did it in your story.
That's just how it goes. Ships are women.
And women are ships.
Yeah, you get it.
I get it.
You see,
I understand.
Yeah. In 1901, the ship's purser, also the guy who handles all of the money, was arrested for overpricing passenger tickets and embezzling the additional money.
So genius.
He claimed the crew were in on it.
I would claim that as well. And
Yeah.
I would also probably do that. Getting caught for that is rare. I'm surprised that he got caught.
Yeah. The Valencia was also found to carry more people than permitted during this time, resulting in a $9,000 fine.
Well, okay, so that's probably $100,000.
You're close. It's $200,000.
Close. It was like halfway
Yeah,
there.
but you were also half for the last one too.
True. That's true. Okay, so I just need to double.
Yeah, inflation.
Indeed. That's
Because
a
of
hefty fine.
Yeah. Because of this, the Valencia was sold again, and then it was bought by the Pacific Steamship Company. And then a couple of more things. In 1902, while en route to San Francisco from Alaska, the Valencia collided with another steamship called the Georgia in Elliott Bay, which is in Seattle, Washington.
Okay.
The hull was punctured above the waterline, but was later repaired.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The single wall hull.
And lastly, in 1905, the Valencia ran aground in Alaska.
Oh.
But was tugged offshore and no lives were lost.
Wow, this boat is having a serious Monday.
Yeah, throughout its whole history.
its
Every
its
year.
entire history is just a Monday.
Yes. And then in 1906, back to the beginning, the Valencia was temporarily diverted to the San Francisco-Seattle route to take over another vessel, the SS City of Puebla, which was undergoing repairs.
Nice.
So she wasn't even supposed to be on this route.
Okay. Oh, on the route that it...
Yep. On the route.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was supposed to be another ship.
Fuck.
So if these people were on another ship,
it would have maybe been okay.
Yeah.
Well, was the other ship a better ship?
Well, we'll never know.
No, I mean the other ship that...
Yeah.
Huh?
Well, we'll never know.
The one that was being repaired for.
Yeah.
No, I just mean like objectively.
Oh, I think so. Well, it was probably about the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it could have... This could have happened to either of the ships.
So it could have. But
right.
we'll talk later about how there's an investigation that happens after the disaster.
Okay. I'm excited.
About who or what is at fault for this. So yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Okay.
So now we're back to where we began in January of 1906. The thick weather was a mix of rain, fog, and high winds around 40 kilometers coming from the southwest. Since the crew was forced to navigate based on previous positions and compasses, they had accidentally sailed further north than expected, passing the entrance of the Juan de Fuca Strait, which would take them to Victoria and Seattle.
Oh, interesting.
So they missed the entrance. So they're kind of up near Port Renfrew.
But that's in the Juan de Fuca Strait? Port Renfrew is.
Yeah, so they...
You mean on the other side? Can we pull up a map? I need to see what's happening.
Yeah, pull up a map.
Okay.
By the Juan de Fuca Strait, I mean where the land is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, so it's closer to Close.
Yeah.
Which is north of Port Renfrew. Sorry, my bad.
Yep, a little bit. Well, I guess it's more east.
Yeah.
Because the island...
Yes.
The island is a funny shape. It doesn't really... Like, it kind of runs north-south, but more than not, it runs, like... Or, sorry, it would be... Wow, this is terrible. The island runs southeast to northwest.
Yes.
So the ship was trying to go into the strait, but it missed the entrance by Close, which is northwest of Port Renfrew.
Yes.
Got it.
So they're way up island.
Okay. And they were coming from where? Sorry, can you remind me?
They were coming from San Francisco.
Okay. Damn. So they made it. They were going. And
it
then
took
it
takes them I think about a day to a day and a half.
Oh, that's pretty fast.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, this happens over the course of a couple days, like 5 days, I guess.
Okay.
All in total.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So then the Valencia hits a reef off of Cape Beale. You might want to keep your map open.
Okay, that's a great idea.
Near Bamfield on Vancouver Island on the night of January 20th.
Damn.
So they went up very far. They didn't know where they were.
Well, I guess Bamfield isn't too much further. It's before Ucluelet and Tofino.
Yes, it is.
Gotcha. Dang.
But so they were trying to go down to Victoria and Seattle, and then they sailed too far up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
A large wave had moved the vessel off of the reef briefly, hitting a rock and pushing her back into open waters, where the crew then noticed a gash in the side of the hull.
The single-walled hull.
Believing the ship would sink, Captain Johnson ordered that the Valencia be breached, so they went back onto the reef. So now they're stranded about 91 meters from shore.
It's not very far.
No.
Just swim.
Well...
Just swim. Listen, get off the boat, risk your life on top of a sharp reef, on top of the sharp rocks, and just swim to shore.
But the rocks aren't like...
I'm completely kidding.
No, I know.
How would you even put the lifeboats in? Yeah, okay.
So it's not out of the ship's not out of the water.
No. But it's on a higher surface-ish.
It is, but... because of the weather, the waves are huge.
Right.
Like, they're coming over the bow of the ship.
Fuck.
Yeah, like, they're really big waves.
Do you remember that one time when we were boating on the Shuswap and a big storm came?
Yeah.
The biggest storm ever.
Oh, yeah.
And I had to close down the front of the boat.
Yes.
And I had to button the canvas cover all along the front of the boat.
Yeah.
And I slid under the window and I scraped my knee so bad that I got rug burn, and then it's still a scar today.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
My rug burn scar.
Your rug burn
from the giant storm that we had to sail through.
Okay, but think about that and then think about it happening in the ocean. Have you ever seen videos of cargo ships being flipped in the ocean?
No.
Oh.
I don't, but now I really want to, but I also don't want to.
Yeah, it's really scary. So that's what I imagine, but it's 1906.
Okay.
And it's really stormy and scary.
Yikes.
Mm-hmm. So the coastline they were stranded near consisted of a steep, rocky cliff. At the top was a dense forest, and the only view of any civilization was a telegraph line that had been strung between Bamfield and the Caramana Lighthouse, which at the time, the Caramana Lighthouse was one of the only lighthouses along the west coast of the island.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's partially why, again, it's called the Graveyard of the Pacific.
Yeah.
Because so many ships. About 2,000 ships.
What?
Have, like, yeah.
Holy fuck.
2,000. That's why it's called a graveyard.
Many. That's too many.
Yeah.
That's like 1,900 too many.
And I think I saw like 700 people or so have lost their lives in total.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a really dangerous area.
True.
I think it's better now with our navigation systems, but back then it was the worst of the worst.
Holy smokes. And now there's also more lighthouses.
And now there's more lighthouses.
Because of that.
Yes, exactly. So Captain Johnson ordered that 6 of the lifeboats be lowered to the main deck, not into the water, but down onto the main deck. But this sent the passengers into a panic.
Dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, okay, so we also have to remember that out of the passengers, it's men, women, and children. Mm-hmm. It's not just, like, seamen.
Yeah.
Going.
Or military men.
Or, like, military people.
Yeah.
Like,
I wore my army pants today.
I see. Yeah. That's so funny. So then the passengers began to board the lifeboats and told the crew to lower them into the ocean. But this was against Captain Johnson's orders. He ordered the lifeboats to be on the main deck, not into the water.
Okay.
But because of the panic going on, the crew were so confused whether they were ordered to lower the lifeboats or not, so they just did it anyway.
So what was the purpose of putting them onto the deck? Like, how does that work?
Just get them ready in case they needed to abandon ship.
Okay, so they weren't ready.
No. Captain Johnson was like, we'll be fine. Everything will be okay. We don't need to worry right now. We're not, like, underwater yet.
Right.
It's all good. We were sinking, but now we're on this reef.
Right. So good call.
Everyone calm down.
Right.
Like, we don't need to get into the lifeboats yet.
You're panicking too loud.
Yeah, exactly. But there's not a lot of communication going on.
Right, because it's storming, it's windy, it's nighttime. Is it nighttime?
At this point, yes.
Okay, it's pitch black.
Yeah.
Imagine this. Let me paint the picture for you.
Yeah.
It's pitch black. It's foggy, so no moonlight, no starlight. It's super windy. You know how the winds get around here. Now imagine out there.
Yeah.
There's water everywhere. Water everywhere. Not a drop to drink. It's spraying up. It's spraying down.
Yeah.
It's spraying directionally.
And
every
it's
direction. Yeah. And people are trying to yell about what to do.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Why it's confusing and there's no communication.
And I think because of the, like, single hull, when waves crashed against the Valencia, it was so loud. While you were on board that the crew had a hard time hearing each other just when they were sailing.
Right.
So now they're stuck on a reef. They're being bombarded by waves. They're like in the breakwater, essentially.
Imagine how loud, wild.
Yeah.
And imagine the smells.
Yeah.
I mean, not really, but. And then also on top of the loudness of the environment, there's also people screaming. Probably.
Yes, there are.
There's children screaming, I'm sure.
Yes.
Because kids get scared.
Yes.
More easily. And especially, like, imagine in a storm like that.
Yeah, it's really scary. They were, like, thinking about it is terrifying to me.
Yeah.
It makes me not want to go on a ship ever.
Yeah.
So, 6 of the lifeboats were lowered into the water by order of the passengers, not by the captain.
Okay.
3 of them flipped on their way down. 1 was caught on some rigging on the vessel. 1 was over capacity and broke the lines, sending all passengers into the water. And 1 just flipped before reaching the water line. So all of these passengers, like over 25 people per lifeboat.
Okay, they all passed away.
Yeah, I think except 1 was able to climb back on the ship somehow.
Whoa.
So then 3 lifeboats were successfully launched, but 2 of them capsized and 1 disappeared. We're already out of 6 lifeboats.
Fuck.
And there's still people on board the ship.
Oh no.
Yeah. Another lifeboat was successfully launched that allowed 12 men to head to shore, thankfully. They made it into the water.
Wow.
3 of them were immediately washed away.
Oh my god.
Trying to get out of the boat. They were pulled back into the ocean. 1 was able to take hold of the cliff face, because remember, they're not really on a beach. They're near a cliff.
Okay.
So they get to this cliff. 1 of them was able to take hold of the cliff, but he fell and died.
Sorry. It's not funny, but it's terrible.
I know.
It's really terrible.
2 of the men found a cave to take a little reprieve in. They were like, oh my gosh, a cave, thank the Lord. However, the tide was high.
Yeah.
So they were forced onto the cliffside where they also fell and died.
Okay.
So there's 9 men who made it ashore.
Okay.
And they huddled together for the night.
Good.
Once they made it there, they were like, hell no, we're not trying to travel any further. But they're just huddling there on shore throughout a whole night. And then there's still people on the ship freaking out.
Oh, God.
And they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're like, where do we go? What are we doing?
What do you do?
Just cry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's all
it.
I know.
That's it.
Yeah. So at dawn on the 21st of January, these 9 men began to climb the cliff edge.
Okay.
To find help.
Okay.
But they're in a dense forest, and all they know is that there's a telegraph line.
Yeah.
So who knows where that would go?
Right.
But luckily, once atop the bluff, they found the telegraph line quite easily in the trees, and they followed it to a lineman's cabin, where they were able to summon help.
Nice.
Yes.
Oh, that's actually pretty lucky that was there.
However, after the disaster was all over, many people criticized this party. They were known as the Bunker Party, after survivor Frank Bunker, and they were criticized for not utilizing the Lyle gun aboard the Valencia to anchor to the cliffs.
Oh. But did they even know about it? Was that
Yes.
like the men that were on the boat that got to the shore were part of the crew of the ship or were passengers?
I think both.
Okay.
It doesn't really say.
The thing is, I just feel like we can't criticize how people act in emergency situations when it's life or death and it's survival. Your survival instincts kick in, right? It's fight or flight or freeze.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be like, oh yeah, what do we have on the boat that could help us in this situation? Your brain is just like, get me out of here, get me off of this right now so that I don't die.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. So the party who was able to make it ashore, the bunker party, they thought they'd crash along the Washington coast.
Oh, they didn't know they were so
They
north.
didn't know they were in Canada.
Okay.
They didn't know. That also directed them into the way that they traveled to find help. Although they found a lineman's cabin, if they had gone another direction, they would have been able to retrieve the Lyle gun and help people off the ship.
What do you mean? Like, but the Lyle gun was on the ship.
Yes.
And
the people on the ship shoot the Lyle gun at the people on the shore, and they could have essentially tied it to a tree.
Oh.
And helped people.
I see.
Yeah.
But instead of doing that, they went over to
They went a different direction and they found a cabin.
Right. Well, 2020.
Yeah, and we can't criticize them because, as you said, they were just doing the best that they could. They were like, oh, we need to find help.
Yeah. It's not like they were like, we just need to save ourselves. Screw everyone else.
Yeah. So at the same time that these people were finally making it ashore, going to the cabin, they had to hike quite a while to get to this cabin. It took them a long time. The ship's bosun and a crew of volunteers launched the last remaining lifeboat at the command of Captain Johnson as huge waves began to crash over the bow of the vessel. So it's getting worse. So that they are kind of sinking now.
Right.
As this party was heading out, the remaining crew on board the Valencia attempted to fire the Lyle gun twice. So this is why the other party was criticized. Because the crew tried to fire the gun.
Right.
On the first attempt, the line got tangled in some trees and broke. But the second one is said to have been successfully launched. However, when the last lifeboat arrived on shore, the group of volunteers, they ditched the original plan to help the remaining people on board the ship.
What?
Because one of them had found a trail marker for Cape Beale. So they followed this trail for 2.5 hours until they found the Cape Beale lighthouse, where the keeper called Bamfield.
Oh my god.
But by then, because of the bunker party, word had already reached Victoria.
Yeah. So why didn't they just be like, oh, before we go down this trail, why don't we just make sure that the line is secure?
Well, they had to stay with the line too to help people.
Right. Or split up and look for clues.
Yeah, they didn't do that.
Okay.
Really disappointing.
Now I'm criticizing a bit. Like that's, I mean, I guess they don't know what's going on with the first crew. They didn't know maybe that they made it or not.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But
if they knew, because the first crew didn't know that they were going to do the line gun. What's it called? Sorry?
The Lyle gun.
The Lyle gun.
Yeah, I don't know if this was talked about beforehand, being like, oh, we could shoot this gun ashore. Because people are in a mild panic, but they're not at the start. They're not so panicked, where they're like, "Oh my God, get me off the ship."
Right.
A lot of the women chose to stay on board because they were like, "Someone's gonna come rescue us. We're fine."
Right.
So all of these rescue parties that are leaving the ship are men.
Right.
None of them are women.
Interesting.
The men were like, "We'll go get help."
Yeah, but they were panicking. In the beginning.
They were.
Yeah.
And then everyone was like, JK, we're fine. No, they were not fine.
No, they weren't. Okay.
No.
A little bit of criticism, but I also understand it's an intense emergency situation.
Yes.
Who knows? I don't know how I would act. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. So, word had reached both Bamfield and Victoria, BC, in hopes of rescuing the remaining passengers and crew on board the Valencia. 3 ships were dispatched from Victoria in attempt to rescue the Valencia, the SS Queen, a steamer called the Salvor, and a tugboat named Czar on the 23rd of January.
Okay.
So it's been 3 days.
Oh, since the call? Or since they left?
Since they got stuck.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been 3 days.
There won't be anyone left.
One ship was additionally dispatched from Seattle, called the City of Topeka, containing a doctor, nurses, medical supplies, experienced seamen for the voyage, and even members of the press.
Gotta get that press
Gotta get
shot.
the newspaper.
Yeah, you gotta.
And there are pictures. We'll post them on our Instagram.
Yes.
There's pictures of some of the survivors
yes,
being like pulled onto the City of Topeka.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, that's the name of the boat.
Yeah, one of the rescue boats.
They named a boat City. They named a boat City.
Yes. There's many boats.
Of Topeka.
Yes.
Okay.
Upon seeing the SS Queen, 2 of the Valencia's remaining lifeboats were launched, while the majority of the passengers, basically all women and children, stayed in hopes of a rescue party.
Okay. I don't like where that's going.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the SS Queen and all of the boats that went on this rescue mission couldn't get close enough to the Valencia.
Oh, no.
Because of the reef.
Fuck.
And the tides. So they just kind of sat there and watched.
What?
Essentially.
They couldn't send out a smaller lifeboat to it?
Yeah, it's kind of really confusing.
Yeah.
So those who had survived on the Valencia were brought onto the City of Topeka, but those were from the Valencia's lifeboats and life rafts. So the women and children on the Valencia were stranded there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So they just had to kind of watch them meet their deaths after 2 days of attempting to survive on this stranded ship.
That's really intense. And had the storm died down by this point?
A little bit, yes.
It was more calm, or the storm was still
The waves
storming?
were still going, like for days.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very intense.
The waves didn't really stop, and it just kind of kept getting worse, unfortunately. One of the life rafts that were launched last from the Valencia would drift to an island near Barkley Sound. It had people in it. They were just floating away.
Fuck.
Yeah. But a group of indigenous peoples found them and helped them.
Wow.
And, like, saved their lives, pretty much.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Of course they would.
Yeah, I know, right? They're like, who are these people? Oh.
They're like, fucking again.
Fucking white people.
We're always saving white people. Like, come on. And they never listen to us.
You can't even row a rowboat?
Well, I wonder if the life rafts aren't, like, this would be so stupid, but maybe they don't have oars. Like, maybe there's no way to row them and control them.
Very
and maybe
possible.
That's the difference between, like, a life raft and a lifeboat.
Maybe.
Like, you know those circle, I mean, these are more modern, but you know the circle life rafts?
Yes.
They must, I don't know. I don't know enough about it to know. But
they must have pop-up oars now.
Some way
like
to
when you can
move.
build. Yeah.
Yeah, because it would just be so dumb. You could be stuck on the ocean forever. I guess people do.
That has happened to people, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the last of the passengers on the Valencia had no choice but to cling onto the rigging of the ship as large waves continued and began to break the hull and break the ship apart, and water was washing over the main deck. So they were like climbing up ropes and stuff and like near the steam funnel trying to hold on for dear life and be like, is no one coming to save us?
That's so sad. Because
none of the other ships could get close enough. And so they were like sent off to Bamfield to be like, oh, well, can't really do much.
Wow. It would be so sad to also see the rescue ship right there.
Yeah.
And not be able to get to it.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't swim to it either. Like when the waves are like that, it's just pushing you back and back.
Yeah, because the people who were like dumped into the water from lifeboats, they just drowned. or like succumb to hypothermia.
Yeah.
So they couldn't really do anything. A passenger on board the Valencia, a chief freight clerk, his name was Frank Len, later recalled he survived. The waves were so large that they were sweeping people off their feet on the main deck, and the ship easily broke apart under the pressure of the waves. He claimed that all he could hear was a mix of screams, wind, and rain.
Yep.
Eventually, wave after wave, the steam funnel of the ship collapsed, throwing everyone into open waters to drown, get slammed against rocks in the reef, or die from exposure.
Wow.
So that was essentially the end of the Valencia.
Wow. It's like in the second half of the Titanic movie, like for an hour, where people are just screaming.
Yes.
Because I rewatched it a few months ago, and I was like, whoa, the second half of the film is so hard to watch.
Yeah.
Because it's just people dying and screaming.
Yeah.
Until the boat sinks and everyone is frozen, and then it's just an eerie silence.
Yeah.
And so I imagine that was pretty true to reality.
Yeah.
And
I think so.
That's probably how, like, that captain said. Like, it was a captain, right?
No, he was just a chief freight clerk.
Oh, okay.
He was just on board.
Yeah.
Yeah. Many of the survivors, again, were taken onto the city of the Topeka, and they traveled back towards Seattle, whereas the survivors on land were taken to Bamfield and then to Seattle on another ship. In total, there were 37 survivors. All men. All women and children died.
Holy fuck.
And we don't really know what happened to Captain Johnson either.
I think he died down with the ship.
Yeah.
As they are wont to do. So how many people died?
The total death toll, I'll get to it in a minute, but it was 136 people.
Wow.
In total.
It's a lot of people.
After this disaster, there was an investigation. They wanted to see what the cause was of the wreck and how to avoid such loss in the future. So there were kind of two investigations. The first one was from the U.S. Marine Inspection Service, and they relied on testimony from the 37 survivors to reconstruct the accident and see how it played out. In February of 1906, U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt ordered a second investigation to implore on prevention and navigational safety along the coast of Washington, and this concluded in March of 1906. Both investigations concluded that navigational errors made by Captain Johnson, in addition to the thick weather, caused the Valencia to run ashore. In theory, Captain Johnson should have moved the ship into open waters until the weather lifted and the ship's position could be positively determined.
Right, but there was a hole in the hull.
No, like when they got into the thick weather, instead of dead reckoning, they should have been like, oh, let's not move any further.
Right.
And wait for the fog to clear so we can see where we are.
Right. I thought, though, that they just kind of accidentally ended up... Oh, you mean at the very beginning?
Yeah. So when they left San Francisco, the weather was clear.
Right.
When they were passing about 100 kilometers northwest of San Francisco, that's when it started to get foggy.
Right. So immediately they should have just been like...
They should have just stopped.
Right.
Let's not try to find the Juan de Fuca Strait in this weather. Yeah. So they all blamed the captain.
Of course.
Another facet of the investigation was that there were no lifeboat drills conducted on the voyage, resulting in mass panic and confusion among the crew and passengers. So you know how when you go on the ferry and they go on the loudspeaker and they're like, this is what to do in case of an emergency.
Yeah.
They didn't do that.
Right.
So no one knew what to do.
Okay. I wonder if that's kind of a new thing where they have to go over the emergency plan for every single sailing.
Yeah.
And maybe they didn't used to do that. Or they just got lackadaisical about it.
I think they just got
lazy.
Yeah. I think they were just like, oh, we'll be fine. So they never went over it with anyone. So in total, again, 136 people died, including 7 officers, 33 crew, and 96 passengers. Again, all women and children on board died.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It's very sad.
A search of the nearby waters, I think it was a day after, so probably January 24th, turned up 33 bodies of those who had perished in the disaster. The rest were taken by the sea.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Taken by the sea.
Taken by the sea.
That's an amazing line.
It was also concluded that there was a lack of life-saving infrastructure along Vancouver Island. So this led to a lighthouse being built and lit in 1908 on Pachina Point, very close to the Valencia wreck and in between the Carramena Lighthouse and Banfield. And then I think in the future, as time went on, they built more and more lighthouses. Surf boats were then stationed in Tofino and Ucluelet, as well as a steamboat in Banfield to aid in future rescue efforts. And then finally, the West Coast Trail was built, which runs along the west coast, obviously, of Vancouver Island, from Gordon River near Port Renfrew to Pachina Bay. So the West Coast Trail was completed in 1911 with regularly spaced cabins along the trail for anyone who needs them.
Nice. I want to do that trail.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. You can still see parts of the Valencia.
What?
Yeah.
What?
It's still there.
What?
Yeah, but now it's like washed up on shore. There's parts of it. I'll put it on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, you can still see it. It's like it's really like a historical site now. They won't move it.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's still there.
That's really scary.
Parts of the ship.
What if we do an Estes method there? Do you want to get a spirit box and do outdoor Estes methods?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that just gave me chills because of what I'm about to tell you next.
Okay.
Finally, moving on to the part we've all been waiting for, the ghost part. Ooh. The phantoms, the ghost ship. The whole reason I chose this story, I read that many of the survivors while on the rescue ship City of Topeka saw the Valencia within Topeka's exhaust funnel. They were looking at the exhaust coming out of the funnel on the ship and they were like, that looks like not the Topeka. That looks like the Valencia.
After they were picked up, as they were leaving the shipwreck.
As they were heading back to Seattle after being rescued.
I think that's called PTSD.
I mean, probably. And while on their journey back to the Seattle, they came up next to a ship to telegraph them of the disaster. But when the rescued people looked more closely, they claimed that it was the Valencia that they pulled up beside to telegraph.
What?
Yeah. Like it was still heading towards the Juan de Fuca Strait, but the crew on deck of the Valencia were skeletons.
Oh!
So they were like,
okay.
Oh my God, thank you, we're rescued. Oh my gosh, we're going back to Seattle. And then they look, and a ship pulls up and is going past them. And they're like, the captain of the Topeka's like, oh, we need to telegraph them of the disaster. But the survivors of the Valencia were like, that's the Valencia. And the people on the deck are skeletons. What's going on?
That is so weird. I've never heard of a haunting happening that
immediately after.
Yeah.
Like the next morning.
Are you sure they weren't just like, they were probably just really mentally unwell?
Probably. That's just what they said happened.
Right.
That's what the survivor said.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess for that many people to experience it too.
Yeah.
At one time.
Yeah, it was more than one of the survivors were like, yeah, we saw it.
That is
sail past us.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like it was replaying its trek.
Wow. That fast. Okay.
Not fast.
Strange.
6 months after the sinking of the Valencia, some local indigenous fishermen claimed to find a lifeboat containing 8 skeletons inside a cave at Pachina Bay.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. If this is true, the cave wouldn't have been accessible during high tide. So they kind of would have been like, if they got into this cave in the lifeboat, they would have been stuck in the cave.
Mm-hmm. I've heard about this.
Yeah, and they just would have starved to death.
Yeah.
Essentially. Starting in 1910, so now we're 4 years after the Valencia disaster, a lot of mariners claimed to see a phantom ship that would replay the last moments of the Valencia. So they would see it sail by, or they would see it like on the reef.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
And would they hear things?
I think so, yeah. Screams are very common.
That's so spooky.
Mm-hmm.
We should camp by there.
No, thank you.
On the trail.
Oh my god. In 1933, which is a really long time after the disaster, lifeboat number 5 was found drifting in Barkley Sound in almost perfect condition.
The real one?
Yes.
People physically touched it.
Yes.
Whoa.
Its nameplate was taken to display at the Maritime Museum of BC in Victoria.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Like over 20 years later.
Wow.
The lifeboat was just floating.
We should go
Barkley
to
Sound.
that museum.
Yeah. I think that would be great. There's also been stories that local fishermen in the area of Pachena Bay see lifeboats being rowed by skeletons to an unknown
scary.
destination.
Mm-hmm.
Like trying to find help, I guess. Reliving their last moments.
But as skeletons, this is the weird
I
part.
know.
Like, ghosts are not normally skeletons.
I know.
So that's why it's a little confusing.
I know. But these are fishermen's tales.
Okay, true. And they caught a fish as big as a school bus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Finally, it is very common for hikers along the West Coast Trail to see a ghost ship along the bluffs where the Valencia had her last moments. Many are said to have radioed emergency signals on their, like, GPS radios.
Whoa.
Yeah, people
it's
call
that
in,
real for them.
and they're like, there's a ship. I'm on the West Coast Trail. There's a ship. It's sinking. There's people. Like, we need to help. Only to be told that what they're seeing happened over 100 years ago.
What the fuck? And then what? It just goes away? Or they look away and they look back and
Yeah,
it's gone?
It's gone. They see it through the fog. Hikers see it all the time.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Whoa. Do you think it's just a buildup of the intense energy that happened there and it's just replaying?
I think so.
Okay.
Which is, like, if you think about the afterlife, that is the worst way.
Well, so this is where my question is it and I can't remember the word, but there's two kind of types of hauntings.
Right.
There's one where it's just like, it's just repeating, but the thing isn't actually happening.
Residual?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it a residual haunting? Or is it actually like they have to live that?
Right.
It sounds more like a residual thing to me.
I agree. I think, well, I hope it's more of a residual haunting.
Mm-hmm.
And that concludes my story of the SS Valencia disaster.
Wow. Good job.
Thank you.
Oof. That.
And now you want to go sleep there?
Yeah.
No thanks.
Yeah. I want to go on the trail
I'll
and
pass.
see if we see the ghost ship.
I'd be really scared. I would like to see the remaining pieces on the beach, though. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome. And also go to the Maritime Museum.
Yes, and then we can find more ghost ships.
Yeah. Because you could do a whole podcast on just ghost ships.
That would be so cool.
Well, yeah. We can do lots of ghost ships. I love ghost ships.
I think they're really cool.
Me too.
It's just that they're so big.
I know, and there's so many people.
Yeah.
And it's also extremely devastating.
Mm-hmm.
It's so devastating.
Yeah.
It's such a intense, horrible event.
Yeah.
And just so much bad energy comes from that.
Yeah, I know.
Woof.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So that's my story for this week. I hope everyone enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I told everyone I knew it wasn't too spooky. I think I'll find more spooky tales as we go on.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening. You can email us with questions, comments, or any of your own stories at ghoulsocietypod@gmail.com, and you can follow us on Instagram at ghoulsocietypod.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.